Kickoff starts now.
Listen to young coaches all the time, I want to be like you. And I go, no, don't try and be like me, So anyway, go ahead with your thing. But I just wanted to tell you, you picked two perfect guys for me.
I'm glad. And I think you pretty much answered it there, because I was going to ask if you describe yourself as more as John Wooden, if your coaching style is more like John Wooden or Bobby Knight, whereas, John Wooden is, the nice, friendly, he works with the players guy, and then Bobby Knight kind of drills it in them and it's harsh. But then you just answer the question and say,
yeah, I think I'm somewhere between the two. To tell you the truth, it depends upon what day you're, and how you're practicing that day. I mean, there are players, and I'm straight with my players when they get them, when I recruit them, when I was in college, and when they come to play for me in high school. My job isn't to be the nice guy. My job is to be the guy that helps them become successful. We can make that easy. We can make that hard. Mostly, it's not up to me. It's up to you as a player. But do the fundamentals. Be there. Be on time, be ready to go, be mentally prepared, know your stuff, EP. We always talk about that. Every player, every play. That's what it takes in practice. Games will take care of themselves. The hard part is practice. You got to get kids out on the field, physically and mentally prepared to practice. And to practice as close to perfection as you possibly can. And to do that, you have to structure your practices to make them as game-like as possible, knowing that there's only so many impacts in a body. So if you hit too much in practice, you won't have anything left for the game. If you hit too much during the season, you won't have anything left for the end of the season when it's critical. It's a real balancing act out there. And again, that's knowing who your players are physically and mentally. And being, come on, if you go out there every day and it's never fun, come on. Who's going to want to do that for 4 months?
Right. Yeah. You want to make it fun for the players, or else they're not going to.
Something happens at practice and it's funny, you laugh, But, you also have to tell your players, listen, you better pick your right time and right place to tell a joke. We're rock and rolling right now. We got stuff to do. We're right. That time, that clock, that clock that's moving. We got to get it one play off every 30 seconds,
And in a place for everything.
We're timing. I mean, it's TTO, time tempo offense. That's what we call that session, and we got to get it off. And I don't care. I get coaches that want to run into the huddle after every play in practice. Hey, you can't do that. I talk a big thing I teach is 30 yards of separation. 30 yards is the average distance that the coaching staff is away from their players on the field. And obviously that changes depending upon what the ball is, but it's about a 30-yard average. And that separation, your players in a big game, they can't hear you screaming and yelling from the sidelines, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's John Wooden, and yet Bob Knight in crowded arenas, his voice would boom across the arena, and he'd say this, and his players would jump, right?
Right.
So there is no one style. It's what style fits you, the players you coach, the situation. John Wooden never had players transfer away. Bob Knight had a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
Both of them were very, very, very successful.
Mm-hmm. All right. We got a few more questions here. We're going to try to go a little quicker just to finish up. So you've done a lot of different types of football, from high school to junior college, and now you're doing stuff in Europe. So what are some of the main differences in these types of football, and what's piqued your interest most, or what are you think you're best at and such?
Again, the game is the same. Football is football. Football in high school, football in the NFL, the game part of it is the same. Obviously the talent's different. Sometimes the strategy is a lot more complex at the higher levels. Not in everybody's system for sure, but sometimes it's not. Modern football is now about the broken play. That's why guys like Patrick Mahomes are so
right. Yeah, the scramble.
There's nothing there, and they turn it into something big. The biggest plays in football now, for the most part, are broken plays, And but you say, well, that's just pure luck. Well, no, not really, because if you believe in that, then you get guys that can pull that off, and you create an offense that's going to get the quarterback outside of the pocket. There's a lot of ththings you can do to enhance your chances to make a broken play work. But how do you defend the broken play? Now, how do you put one spy on Cam Newton when he was young? He was going to make you look real bad. I remember back to when University of Texas played USC when Pete Carroll was the coach, and he's a great defensive mind. and the play came down. The game came down for the national championship to one play, and the probably $750,000 to $1 million a year offensive coordinator for Texas called the pass. Cam Newton took 1/4 second look at that pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then turned it into a scramble. Pete Carroll had one guy, Jason Sehorn, on Cam Newton, on Vince Young, in the open field to try to tackle him. No way. There's no way. And Vince Young knew it. He saw that spy, and he just said, I'm scoring. I'm running through this other guy. Because they doubled down on the coverage. That meant everybody was, they suspected a pass too. And Vince Young said, no, I know myself, and I know my abilities. They got one guy covering me as a spy, forget it. And he did. He walked into the end zone, right?
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll scratched his head and said, hey, we called the right defense. Well, maybe I don't know. And then go down and look at the other Pete Carroll thing. Look at the goal line thing when they had the beast on the 1 yard, on the half-yard line, and went for the pass against New England.
Right.
Yeah, because the analytics told them to do that against that defensive lineup that New England had in the thing. And yet, here we are, basic high school fundamental coaching, 2 plays from the half-yard line. You got the best running back in the game, certainly the best power running back in the game.
You run it.
Sometimes we make something that's pretty simple way too complex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Now I was just wondering, Oren, you can ask a question actually.
So I just want to know, what advice would you give to young aspiring athletes? Just players who are coming up and you just need to give them some advice. What would you say?
Well, to use your social media to your benefit. Think about on and off the field. Everything you do, everything you say now has a chance to be, come up 10 years later, it could come up and bite you in the butt. You got to think about using your social media, not just, for that, obviously, to protect yourself and your image, but, in recruiting and to be wise about, what you put out there on the internet. And also you could use it as a great recruiting tool if you know what you're doing. And you could learn the game. I mean, I watch my grandson, and we're in the car, and we're talking about something in politics or in life. And as soon as I get to one subject that he doesn't know, I say something like in Constantinople, talking about what's going on in Turkey today, and talk about the history of Constantinople, and he's got it up on his screen in 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
He just so he has learned to use his social media as his way to help educate himself, to fill in the blanks that school doesn't do. So social media is such a huge tool to improve yourself, improve your game, and to damage yourself. And you got to be real wise about, how you do that and how you manage your time. Because when you get on the upper levels, I've seen so many athletes that have failed because of lack of time management skills. But the last thing is to get back and to know the fundamentals. Like I say, you got to be coachable. You got to be reliable. Fitness and strength. Those are things that everybody understands. But it's those other things, those intangible factors. Those are the reasons why most players fail. For 7 summers, I worked with the incoming rookies for the Utah Jazz, teaching them the strength program for the team. And of course I had big eyes and watched Karl Malone and John Stockton and Jeff Horner.
Wow.
And got to work with guys like Greg Ostertag at 7 foot 2 3/4 inches tall. And the dot drill we did that a guy like Malone would do in 45 seconds, Ostertag would take more than 2 minutes to do. And so footwork, things like, things you would never understand. Ostertag, for example, he had a combination of a drop step, jump hook, and a drop step going backwards, fadeaway jump shot from 5-6 feet in the paint. And he had that combination going. And in college, he was unstoppable. And in pros, it didn't work. He ended up not being able to make it, for a long time in the pros because he put the ball on the floor. And in college, you can get away with that. In the pros, you put the ball on the floor in the paint, it doesn't come up. And I watch stuff like that, and I watch their habits in the weight room and their attention to detail. And listen, they cut away these guys that were amazing athletes, amazing, and did everything right. There was just no way they were going to make it living in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
So you have to take into account all these different factors, where am I playing? What am I doing? What are my goals? And take care of the fundamentals. Be the best version of you can possibly be. You can't change who you are. You don't want to. You got to be you. But you got to be the best possible version of you can possibly be. And that takes a lot of work. And that takes a lot of work on details. Little things like showing up, having your notebook ready when you go into a meeting. I mean, I sat there in college and watched guys walk into the meeting. My job as assistant coach was they didn't have their playbook. Turn around, go back.
Right.
And by the way, meet the trainer, meet the athletic trainer at 6 o'clock in the morning for stadium steps. That's how sometimes that's the way you got to get it done. And sometimes a player goes, screw that. I'm not going to do stadiums at 6 o'clock in the morning because I forgot my playbook. And the coaches say, bye. Don't let the door hit you, butt on the way out. It's there's a lot of things that you got to do personally, a lot of interpersonal skills and a lot of personal habits that can help you. And like I said, the cell phone today is such a big one because, come on, we all see people tweeting themselves right out of their line of work, right?
Yeah.
All right. It looks like we're about to end here, but this has been head coach Jeff Scurran. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys, and good luck with what you're doing, and have a good school year.
You too. And I'll get a copy of that book.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or, if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.